Hello guys, so in today's video I'm going to be talking about how to invest in your 20s to become a millionaire in the future. Now this might sound like a very daunting or even impossible task, but in reality it's really what I'm going to be explaining in this video is a very simple protocol or a very simple set of rules to follow that I'm currently following. I'm sort of at the beginning of my journey as well, but I can see very clearly that this is going to lead me to become a millionaire and to eventually become financially independent. That's really what you want as someone that lives in this world. To become financially independent, you can do whatever you want. You can live your dreams, right? So where are we going to start? I'm going to start this off. I'm going to talk about a few different things in this video. So if you want to skip around, make sure to check the timestamps, check the, just check the bar of the time at the bottom. But we're going to be talking about first compound interest and a Roth IRA. And we're going to be talking about why is it so important to invest at such a young age. Basically, rule number one, invest as early as humanly possible, okay? Any money that you're getting, I don't care if it's like $100, if you can just put that aside and put it into your Roth IRA, if you're like 18, right, you should do that, okay? You should be, so as of 2023, you can invest $6,500 in a Roth IRA per year. What is a Roth IRA? This is a retirement fund. You're probably thinking, why would I want to invest in a retirement fund if I'm in my 20s or even 18? 19, right? Why would I want to do that if I'm not going to retire for super long? So the answer to this is because a Roth IRA is basically the only account that is tax-free. So any gains, anything that you sell within this account and you gain money on it is not going to be taxed, okay? Any other investment account, at least to my knowledge, is going to be taxed. And sometimes the tax, especially if your income bracket for tax is higher, you're going to be taxed quite heavily. Okay, if the gains on this are quite like heavy, you're gonna be taxed on this, right? So let's say you're making $10,000 gains, which that's a lot, right? I don't even make anything like that yet from my gains, but eventually once you're much wealthier, you might make something like that very easily. You won't be taxed on that in the Roth IRA, and that's why it's so important to max out the Roth IRA every year. So I'm going to go and show you guys a visual representation here for those of you that might be visual learners. So let's say that you're starting at $0, right? We're starting from rock bottom. We have nothing, but you need some kind of income, right? So you're going to at least need $6,500 per year for this strategy or for this part of this. You can obviously invest more than that and become a multimillionaire very easily. But if you were to start at age, I don't know, I'm just going to show you, okay, so we're starting at $6,500 per year annually, as you can see. And then years of growth, let's say we're going to retire at 65, so we're starting at 40 in this case. So the estimated rate of return, let's say is 8%. That's a little bit conservative. As you can see this is compound interest, okay? Compound interest is slowly but surely working for us. And the longer that we let this go, you can see even just a few years before, I was only at 340,000, but this starts to rocket up. And then now you can see, okay, so let's add 10 years to this, okay? Actually, compound frequency, this doesn't matter too much, but let's just say that's annually as well. Let's go to 35. So this means that we're retiring at the age, or that we're starting to invest at the age of 30, okay? So we're starting to invest at the age of 30. If we just do $6,500 starting at age 30 every year, and that's all that you do, you're going to be a millionaire by the age of 65. This is how simple it is to become a millionaire, right? Now, just having $1 million, it technically makes you a millionaire, but we can see if we start at 20, which is going to be 45 years of growth to the age of 65, we're going to have $2.5 million. Now, if you are a more successful investor, if you're going to take this more seriously, you can get easily more than 8% per year, especially with these first few years of AI growth and development. So let's say that we can get this up to 9%. You can see from 8 to 9%, this adds almost $1 million. Now, you might have heard that the stock market average for S&P 500 is 10%. So if you put in 10%, you see that knocks us up almost another million. If you can somehow get up to like 12%, this goes crazy, okay? And now you might not be the best investor. You might just invest in ETFs. And that's what we're going to talk about here in a second. That's a very good way to do it. And you might just get, let's just say 9%, okay? But you're still going to be a millionaire if you do this strategy. And more than likely, you're going to be making more than $6,500 per year, which means you're more than likely going to be able to invest more than $6,500 per year. The reason I stress this amount is because if you can get this amount at the age of starting at 20, from the ages of 20 to 30, that's going to be, if that's all you can do, that's really, really good. Obviously, you want to do more if you can, because, you know, even if you just, let's say if we can invest 7,000, this is not necessarily in our Roth, you can see this goes from 3.6 million. That only adds a little bit, but if you could just add a little bit, this is gonna start compounding, right? You can see this starts compounding like crazy. Now, anyways, moving on here. Here's again, you can see the compound growth. This is basically just what I was explaining. You can see that if you start later, you're not going to be gaining near as much. This guy has about 600,000 because he started at age 55. Now, if you start way back here, and if you just put in just a little bit, you're gonna be growing a lot more. So investing is not about really how much you put in. It's more about how long your money is in the market and how long you allow it to compound. Because all this growth that you see here is happening in the last few years. That's how compound growth always works. So allow yourself the ability to compound your money by starting as early as possible. That's rule number 1. Okay. So invest as much money as humanly possible for compound interest. Stop spending on things that you want and don't need. So this is very important. In order to get the $6,500 from the ages of 20 to 30, it might be very difficult for some of you because you need to spend on needs, right? Because you need to pay for rent, you need to buy food. It's just you're living paycheck to paycheck, and it's genuinely because of your needs. Although for a lot of people, this is also not the case. For a lot of people, you just can't control your spending, and this is something that you must get a grip of. You must learn to not become. You must learn to become not as materialistic, and to care more about your future wealth, and understand that you're doing this for your future financial independence. That's more important than anything you can buy at this point in time at the age of 20, 22, like myself. I'm 22. Although it can be tempting, people get degrees in marketing so that you want to buy things, and it's okay to buy things every now and then, but you have to be realistic and you have to max out your Roth IRA. Rule number 1. Okay. And so stop spending on things you don't need. Stop eating out. Stop door dashing. Stop spending on all this stuff. It's so easy to spend on stuff. You need to realize how much money you're spending on stuff that you don't need, and put that money toward investing instead. Okay. So that's really important. And again, if you max out your Roth IRA, you can start a second brokerage account that is going to obviously be taxed, but still, again, that compound interest is still kicking in. And if you don't sell anything, you don't have to worry about the tax anyway. And lastly, so what do you invest in? That's a good question. So, if you're a beginner, and you very likely are a beginner investor, if you're in your 20s, you might have started early like myself. But I'm still learning. I don't claim to be a super great investor. I have had some wins, but I'm not like super rich. I'm not like anything like that, but I know my stuff to some extent. So we're gonna be talking about ETFs, as you've probably been looking up here. So invest in ETFs or promising companies as stocks. So I'll give you some example of a few of these. So these are a couple of ETFs that I'm actually in right now, and I'm also in another one that I could talk about too. So this is actually called the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. This is probably one of the best high dividend yield ETFs. So what is an ETF? An ETF is something that tracks. It's basically an investment you can make that tracks a variety of different smaller like stocks. So it's much less risky than buying a single stock, because if that one company that you buy starts to crash or they start to go bankrupt, that's obviously going to be really bad. But if you're, the S&P 500, if you buy that, you have a partial ownership of 500 different companies. So, okay, now you only have 499, but what is that? That's nothing, right? So it's not going to affect your overall share holdings that much. So guys, I would highly recommend this ETF for dividend. What is a dividend? A dividend is something that they will pay you for each share that you have of the ETF. So I think that I got paid like 66 cents, which is obviously not crazy, but again, if you have $100,000 worth of shares of this, you're going to be making a few grand, right? So and then obviously you have $1 million. That's going to be where you're just living off of your money, and that's where you want to be. So obviously try to invest low on these. Try to get in low if you can, but in the long term, it's not really going to matter too much. Like if you invested right now, this is still going to be pretty good, and you can see historically this just goes up, and that's why ETFs are so good. I'll show you another one. This is called the AI. This is AIQ. This is artificial intelligence. So I definitely would recommend this one if you're looking into the future of things and you don't want to invest in a single stock like Nvidia because maybe their share price is too high. But with that being said, you can also invest in single stocks, such as I would highly recommend Apple. It's very it's very hard to go wrong with Apple. So Apple is currently 186. It's pretty much at an all-time high, I believe. Not quite, but it's definitely up there. So buying this right now might not be the best idea, although your theory might be that it's going to go higher. So I would recommend waiting until this crashes. If you bought this at like 130, you're basically just making so much money right now. If you bought this at the beginning of the year, you're making so much money right now. And that's the case with a lot of these other stocks like Nvidia. Again, I don't want to show you guys, I don't want to go like too crazy here. I don't want to throw too much at you, but basically you have two options. You can invest in ETFs, which are conservative. It's not too hard. It's not too hard to pick a good ETF. It's pretty easy. You don't have to be a crazy good investor. You could just Google like good ETFs. Like, what do you want to get? You want a dividend? Do you want something that's going to grow long term? Do you pick which industry you want to be in? You can pick a variety of things, or do you want to become you want to try to learn more about the stock market and take a little more risk since you are younger, and go into singular stocks like Apple, like Microsoft, like even Tesla. You can make a lot of money. You could have made a lot of money on Tesla this year as well if you had invested right here. You could have over doubled your money, which is just absolutely insane. So keep an eye out for these opportunities whenever the stocks crash super far. And I always remember a quote from Warren Buffett that says, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy, meaning whenever the market is going down and others are very scared and they're selling off, you should be in the mindset of buying, like, oh, I see a buying opportunity. Or whenever the market goes up and everyone's like, buy, yeah, we're going to go to the moon, buy, keep buying, you should be fearful that the market's going to crash because it's likely getting overvalued. Just like I think the market's slightly overvalued right now, but it's hard to know because we're about to have this AI expansion that's going to just completely change the entire world, in my opinion, and that's already happening. But the peak of that happening probably won't be for a little bit longer, but it is going to happen in this decade, in my opinion. So getting into tech companies, getting into artificial intelligence, getting into AIQ, perhaps, would be great. So, this is kind of my video. First of all, just to kind of recap for you guys. Make sure that we're starting as young as possible. Max out the Roth IRA. Max out because it's tax-free. That's basically the reason we want to max it out, is because it's tax-free, and no other account that we can invest in is going to be tax-free. The younger you start, the more your money is going to compound. The higher rate of return you can get. Obviously, this is going to go up by a lot. Like even just 1% extra gain per year will make this go up a lot. 2 is invest in ETFs or in stocks. 3 is stop spending on things that you don't need and put that money toward investments instead. So hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Let me know if you like this type of video. Basically, this channel is just where I want to start posting things that are outside of my other channel, which is gaming. And let me know if you guys have any video ideas related to investing, or if you thought a certain part of this video was cool. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.